Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Our guest today is Nick Marsden. Nick, please tell us where you are in the world and what you do for a living.
Yeah, so joining you from London today, I'm one of the co-founders of OOSC Clothing. We are a retro-inspired, sustainable skiwear brand, and we basically specialize in ski suits. That's what we started doing, and then we also do jackets, pants, everything else to do with skiwear. And we also do swimwear and gym wear as well.
Oh, awesome. So tell me a little bit about your background. I assume you're an avid skier, snowboarder getting into this space. So can you tell us kind of how you got the idea to get into the space and start making apparel? And what was kind of your big pivot moment where you went from, having an idea for retro ski suits? And what was really the big moment for you where you're like, you know what? Yeah, let's just go and do this thing.
So I guess I'll start at the beginning very quickly. I went to university or college, as you guys call it, back in 2005, 2006 time I met my Aaron, who is my other co-founder at university. We were studying law, didn't want to be lawyers. We did our law school and then we went in separate ways. Aaron went and worked in a sales role. I went and sold my soul to a large international bank. And then in 2015, we got our heads together and really thought, what do we want to do with our lives? Because we didn't want to work for the man anymore. And when we met at university, it was through our love of skiing and partying, basically. And then obviously in 2015, we sat down and thought, what can we do that basically has our love for skiing in a business? And we used to buy retro ski suits on eBay. They were not waterproof. They didn't smell great and they didn't perform as a product. So what we wanted to do is we just wanted to bring a really fun and colorful product back to the mountains, really, and fun and color and retro all encompassing. So that's where we got the idea from, and we just kind of went for it. So we initially started doing ski suits, and we've since then progressed to doing everything in ski. And I think last year we sold to 110 different countries direct off our website. I think we've sold about 60,000 ski suits globally.
That's awesome.
And we even actually sold to 49 US states last year, which is really cool for us. So, across the US, I don't think we get a lot of love out of Nebraska, but that's probably the only state that hasn't sold for us yet. But we're getting there. We're working on them.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. And so I was curious too, what kind of made you get into sort of the retro space? But I mean, anybody who's a skier or snowboarder, I mean, skiing, snowboarding in the 80s, I mean, that is just one of the most iconic times for fashion. You see there's a million movies about it. It's just one of the most still retro, I think, vibes out there is people who are skiers and snowboarders. So yeah, it's really interesting because in my experience, I know I told you off here just a second ago, I grew up a big skier and snowboarder as well. And I'll say I've never seen something this unique. I mean, everywhere that I look for my stuff, it's either a really super localized store, if you have that near you, or you just go to some giant marketplaces online that sell 1,000 brands, and it's just all kind of a big conglomerate of stuff. So it's really cool. I'm taking a look at the website right now, and I just can't get enough of this stuff. It's so cool. So, but how did you eventually settle on doing sticking with just the retro style? What kind of led you down that, not really a niche per se? What kind of really got you to say we're 100% just going to stick with the retro 80s type vibe?
Well, I think what happened is post financial crash of 2008, all the major brands. All the major ski brands just went really boring with their offering. And me and my business partner, Aaron, we used to love dressing up at uni. We used to also love the retro vibes. And so I think when it came to how do we carve out our niche, being a new apparel brand in the market is incredibly competitive anyway, let alone going into something like skiing that has, the likes of Burton, Salomon, you name it, household name brands. It's very hard to compete in that. So we thought we would carve out the niche of retro just because it's fun and colorful. And the best thing about skiing is fun. It is, everyone loves doing it. It's probably one of the only sports that you can get away with wearing the wackier, the better, on the mountain, and everyone loves it. Especially when you're going away on group trips. We have a lot of customers that match up with their ski suits for group trips, and it's just fun. And so that was where the idea came from, really, in going down the retro way. Now we call ourselves retro inspired. So we aren't core retro. We're retro inspired in everything we do, but We also sustainable as well. That's the one thing I didn't mention earlier. We're a fully sustainable brand. So 2 years into our business journey, we decided to completely change the way we manufacture. And now everything is made from either recycled polyester, which is from recycled plastic bottles, or recycled nylon, which comes from sea waste, women's tights, and mattresses. So the whole brand is sustainable. We tell that great sustainable story. We want mountains to be here for the long run, not just for us. You know, we want our kids to be able to enjoy the mountains. And we know how important global warming is and how much it really is affecting the mountains. Last year, the west coast of the US, you had record snowfall on the west, but you didn't have enough snow on the east. We've had it similar in Europe. We had a great start to the season and then it started raining. And now again, we've had absolutely loads of snow in April, which is unheard of. So global warming is a thing. And we just thought if we're bringing a new product to market and we are a new brand, we want to make sure that we are sustainable moving forward. Because that's what our customers want as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, definitely find no shortage of environmentalists, obviously, like in this space as well, like people that love skiing and snowboarding. And could you tell me a little bit more about your transition from doing maybe just like more traditional manufacturing, just looking for, good quality at a low cost to be able to like also provide that low cost to your customer base from, going from that to, doing a more sustainable model. There's always challenges. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially younger entrepreneurs, they want to be sustainable, whether they're making food or apparel or whatever it is. But I think there's this like misnomer about it where I think people kind of can see that, especially in starting out, maybe a younger brand, as something that maybe isn't feasible when you're that young as a brand, thinking that it would be too expensive. So you've obviously made it work. Can you tell me a little bit about that transition and the things you had to do and how you make it work to this day?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were actually at a trade show called ISPO in Germany, which is one of the largest trade shows for outdoor sports in the world. And you have everything from manufacturing through to brands. And we were there when we came across a fabric manufacturer who was producing for a brand called Picture, and Picture Organic Clothing are one of the largest European brands, and they absolutely lead the way into sustainable production. And so we got chatting with the fabric manufacturer, and yeah, I'm not going to lie, it is more expensive for us to produce. We just thought it was the right thing to do and bake it into our costs at an early part of our business journey. I was actually, I won't name the brand, but I was chatting to the regional sales head of a huge global brand who didn't at the time make sustainable fabrics, in the sense that none of their items were recycled. And I said to him, why are you not using recycled fabrics? Because you're such a huge brand, you can. And I think that's to your point, is that he said to me, well, you're run by yourself and we're run by our shareholders. And if it costs an extra $2-3 a unit and we produce 10 million units a year, that's a lot of additional costs, which kind of struck us quite a lot, because we were very much like, well, isn't that sad that such a huge company don't think they absolutely can do it? And they're choosing not to do it. So now a lot of these brands now are making kit from recycled materials, which is great. But we wanted to do it at the beginning. We wanted to make it part of our core values, really. And we're absolutely super proud that we've done it. And obviously now everything we produce is sustainable. So there's no question about it. And now our customers come to us and love the fact that they can be wearing the brightest, most colorful, most amazing thing on the mountain, but also then shout about the fact that it's sustainable, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. And I mean, look at your prices on your website. I mean, it's completely competitive with like, any of the big players out there. If you go to their website, it's about the same, I would say, for like a suit or, a whole set. So, I mean, it doesn't seem to have affected your bottom line that much. And also, I think folks are, when they're looking for things that are sustainable, I don't think the cost is as paramount on their mind as it is like they want things and they live that lifestyle of sustainability. So what did you find, I guess, just like any other parts of that journey, did you find any things, other than just like, obviously it's a little bit more expensive, but did you find anything that, like different or, with like the logistics of it, like, you use a certain manufacturer? Is there any other parts of the process that you kind of had to, make that change and, make sure you're working with sustainable partners in other parts of the business, or was it mostly really just the manufacturing journey?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good point. We want to try and make our entire supply chain as sustainable as we can. Obviously, we can't do everything. Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say, but right. We are working as hard as we can to really embed it. And as I said to you before, like, it's really within the core values of our business. So I'll give you an example. We've just moved to a new fulfillment center. So we've got 4 warehouses globally now. We have one in the US in Ohio. We've got one in Toronto in Canada. We've got one in the Netherlands and one in the UK. And the new warehouse that we've gone to in the Netherlands and the UK is actually run by robots. It's very high tech. But the best part about it is that it has solar panels on the entire roof of the whole footprint of the warehouse. So they are totally self-sufficient. So that kind of shows our commitment. We've, moved from a less sustainable third-party logistics warehouse to a more sustainable option. All of the poly bags that are wrapped in our products for protection in the warehouse, they're all made out of a biodegradable plastic or fully recycled. So yeah, we are trying to embed that in every aspect of what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think we have a lot of young entrepreneur listeners on the podcast. And I think a lot of people, like as I mentioned before, whether they're in apparel or they do CPG or whatever industry that you're in, I mean, the options are out there. If you can learn how to absorb that cost to send the right message and do the right things earlier on, I think it can really help to grow a bigger sustainable business if you can do it in the early stages like you all did. So I think it's great for people to hear that it's obviously feasible, that you can make changes. It's not going to seriously impact your bottom line to a point where it's not feasible. It clearly is you obviously still are maintaining success even after that transition. So I think it's important for people to hear that.
I think one of the things as well is that you also then use it to your advantages as a unique selling point, right? So I think that there's a lot of customers, not everyone cares that an item is made out of recycled plastic bottles. They don't care that there's 100 plastic bottles in a ski suit that would have otherwise gone to landfill. Some people don't care, and some people always just look at price. But there are a lot of people now that do care, and there's a definite shift in attitudes towards sustainability and recycling. And I would much rather see 100 plastic bottles go into the production of an awesome ski suit that's going to last for years and years rather than go to landfill, and I think a lot of our customers now are coming to us saying, well, isn't it great that you guys are a sustainable brand in a world when we need to be doing more? And I think, I have to say, I don't think we shout about the sustainability as much as we need to. And I think that is one of the reasons why I'm trying to get involved with doing some podcasts to tell everyone that we are making things sustainably, because it's very easy to put a little sustainability, recycled sign on your website and say it, but the message of actually our products is also what we want to send out there as well. So it's kind of hard getting a balance between the two. But yeah, definitely we need to shout about sustainability more for sure.
Yeah, it's fair enough. And I think what people are most interested in is just the transparency of the process and how that actually works and what people are actually doing at a real objective level. Because I don't know how it is in the UK, but in the United States, people shout these just labeling words from the rooftops of things that are sustainable. It's all these things, and it's not always super clear what that means. It's are you sustainable because you have a couple solar panels on one of your buildings? Is that what you mean by that? Or do you mean that you're actually sustainable and cyclical in everything that you're using from production to everything? So I think people are looking actually for more clear and more transparent messaging on that side. So I would say I definitely agree with you, at least from a US standpoint. I think people are very much interested in the really big degree of transparency you see with a lot of companies that show what their processes are actually like. I think people are very much interested in that. And if nothing else, I think if somebody comes across a brand like yours and they like it and they look at the price, okay, so it's comparable, and then you go to one of the other big players, you see the same prices, maybe even similar designs, whatever. But you can come back and you can say, if I'm gonna spend this money on something that I really need and that I want, at least I know I'm getting it from somebody that is doing it the right way. I think it acts as more of a conversion point than it does driving initial traffic. I think it really helps people kind of get to the finish line in their journey of hearing about your brand, checking it out, getting information, and I think all of those things can lead to good conversion after they learn a little bit more about the brand. So I think the more the better, in my opinion. Yeah.
We've actually we've HSBC are our bankers globally, and they've issued us with a green loan this year, which for all intents and purposes, it doesn't do anything different for us. They still a lender, but they have issued us a green loan internally because we have all the sustainability credentials to back it up. So
that's awesome.
They said that I think that we're only one of 10 businesses in the whole of the UK they've given a green loan to, because we do have the sustainability credentials and the certifications and stuff like that. So, and I think it's important on all sides, as you said, on all sides of the supply chain and all parts of our business, to know that we're trying to do as much as we can do, basically.
No, that's awesome. And let me ask you this, just kind of more on the business side. So I know you said you sold into 49 of the 50 US states online last year. It seems like you're definitely a more e-com driven, definitely more online brand. So do you have any kind of wholesale sides of things, or do you do any private labeling, or is your vertical basically almost entirely e-com?
We do a little bit of private labeling for a company in the US, and then we do sell through wholesale. We've got a couple of retail partners that we deal with globally. It's probably 20% wholesale, 80% direct to consumer.
That's awesome.
Well, when we started off, it was much higher. It was more like 50-50. But obviously, as we have grown, it's obviously better for our margins to direct more traffic to our own website. But it's also very useful to have retail partners for exposure. And the retail partners we have, we're really pleased working with them. We've got really great relationship with them, and long may that continue.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's not easy to maintain direct to consumer volume at that level to be 80% of your revenue. And there's so many advantages to it, as I'm sure you clearly know. Just like the interaction with your customers, the direct feedback, just the communication in general, all the data that you can get from doing things mostly through e-com can be really, really powerful and drive recurring business and all those great things. So what kind of verticals do you use like on the marketing side of the e-commerce business? Are you doing any more like traditional advertising on Meta and things like that, or do you drive much more through social media? Give me kind of a breakdown of what your marketing efforts are like and where you see the most success there.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way that Meta is now traditional marketing.
Right.
Which is great, but yeah, so we do Meta, Facebook, Instagram. We also do Google ads, Google Shopping, things like that. We have our marketing manager and my business partner Aaron mainly handle the marketing side. So this is perhaps not my forte to answer, but yeah, we do. So I mean, social media marketing for us is huge. Our inbox on Instagram is absolutely rammed with people wanting to collaborate with us, which is great. And I think because we have such a fun product, we're not short of influencers who want to work with us, which is really great. It's nice to know that we have an in-demand product. And I think social media is so powerful with what you can get out there. And I think our user-generated content that we get is really great. And we use it for adverts as well, because, our customer wants to see other customers doing exactly the same thing, having fun on the mountain, whether that be skiing with friends or in the bars at après ski, having a couple of Aperol Spritz and dancing on the tables. So, and it's really great because within a couple of clicks, you can just load up something. We actually do this thing on social media called Spotted by OOSC. And it's often where our social media team find people wearing OOSC around the mountain and go and interview them and put them on social media. And I think a couple of years ago,
awesome.
Aaron and I were in Breckenridge a couple of years ago, and we saw about 20 different OOSC ski suits in one day. And we were only skiing for a day. And this was a couple of years ago. And we went up to every single person and handed out business cards and took photos and asked people if they wouldn't mind if they were going on Instagram, and everyone seems to love it. And I think that's the kind of community that we're trying to create, is that when you wear something by OOSC, you feel fantastic. And, especially if you're in a ski suit, people tell you how fantastic you look 20 different times a day. You really have that uplifting feeling. That I was only out in France last week, and I was wearing one of next season's ski suits, and someone shouted at me and a couple of the guys I was with, and everyone was like shouting OOSC off the chairlift, So we love our community basically, and we like to bring everyone together. So it's really nice that our customers feel the same, especially when we interact with them. In the wild, as we call it.
In the wild, right? Yeah, you got a great chant of that too. I think people love any sound they can chant that has like the ooh in it. Because it almost sounds like a boo, but it's not. Like a lot of like those famous athletes that have the ooh in their name, but it's always a fan favorite. That's awesome.
It's funny because we pronounce it OOSC almost as if the C was a K, but different countries pronounce it different ways. So, if you're in the Netherlands, they might say OOSC. Or if you're in Sweden, it might be OOSC, but then some people say OOSC because they don't know. And, some people say OOSC. And what we say is it's the sound of a fist pump in ski gloves. OOSC.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. So let me ask you this too. Like, obviously, you've had success. You're selling in many, many countries. You're selling all over the U.S., almost 50 states in the U.S. This is another kind of interesting piece for a very successful, but obviously still growing brand like you have. Now, you've had this much success. You have this amazing community, this great social media following. You're running paid ads and stuff that's obviously working. Now, what's kind of like the next step for you, do you think, obviously you're going to continue to experience growth, but what's kind of on the horizon for you guys as far as like, what's the next thing for you guys? I mean, don't disclose anything that's like, for next season or anything, but just curious, like in like a strategic sense, what's kind of your next like big move, do you think, to continue to have like momentous growth like you've had?
Yeah, I think we've been so focused on ski suits and ski jackets and pants, and we need to focus more on other products within ski. So next season, we've got a big push for socks, and all the socks, head warmers, neck tubes, beanies, headbands. We have these thick headbands that say OOSC on one side and après on the other, and we do them in loads of different neon type colors, and they just fly off the shelves, which is great. But so our next plan really is to focus on really offering more products to our customers, our current customers, and a different wider range of products, basically. And then the long-term goal is, I said at the beginning, we do swimwear and gym wear as well. So our long-term goal is we're going to be hopefully bringing out a new gym wear range in about 10 months time. And that's going to be very much Andre Agassi 1990s splash of colors. We're going against the grain in the sense that everyone that goes to the gym tends to wear a black gym t-shirt or a blue gym t-shirt, and it's quite unassuming. Obviously, we're not that brand. And I think we did a range that was a bit tame for us a couple of years ago. So we've gone back to the drawing board, and I know my business partner, Aaron, is working on a really, really sick range at the moment, which is going to be really cool, brightly colors. And we're looking forward to launching that back end of 2024. And then, fingers crossed, watch this space, but hopefully we should be going into some different sports in 2025. But we'll have to catch up.
Stay tuned on that.
And stay tuned on that one.
That's awesome. So you're kind of just thinking of taking like the general success that you've had with these styles and obviously like snowsuits and things, and just kind of taking it across like all of outdoor sports really is like kind of the big picture for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the plan. I mean, obviously there's lots of variables in that. And we're working as hard as we possibly can, probably working harder now than we've ever worked, So that is the plan, to kind of take that retro inspired ethos with our sustainability focus and really push that out into the wider sports arena. As I said, stay tuned.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. One thing I always like to ask everybody that comes to the pod, if you watch any of the podcasts with me on, I always ask this question. You go back, obviously, you've had this great success. When did you say, I must ask you in the beginning as well, so what was the first year? When was the actual launch of the brand? I forgot to ask you.
So we launched in 2015, 3rd of March, 2015.
So been almost 10 years now. Now, if you go back to that time, the inception of the brand, like knowing everything you know now, if you give yourself one piece of advice, whether it's business, personal, just everything you've learned along this journey, like what do you think that piece of advice would be to yourself?
I guess, there's a couple. Where do I start? I think the main one is that I wish, me and my business partner, Aaron, we wish we'd started this when we were younger. We started this when we were probably 27. Yeah, I've just turned 37. So yeah, 26, 27, 28 was probably when we started it. So, and we had full-time jobs. I was working in banking and I hated it. So I think that it was the really difficult position as to who would go full-time first, and when do you go full-time on the business? When do you leave your secure job that pays your rent and your bills to really taking the plunge? And Aaron took the plunge first, and I'll be forever grateful for that. And then I followed him a year later. I think that we wish we had started the business a lot earlier, maybe in like our early 20s, so we would have less commitments and less real life stuff that gets in the way. But other than that, I think I'm glad we made the sustainability shift in the second year of production. But I think, I don't know, it's difficult. There's so many things that we've done and achieved, and I think the big thing is we made so many mistakes along the way, and it's very hard to navigate that. Aaron and I did not come from a retail background. We had no experience in e-commerce. So that was very difficult. So I wish, if I was thinking, if I'd gone back into my early 20s and thought, hey, I really want to start a skiwear brand, maybe it would have been a good idea to get some work in an online brand or a fashion brand, or to have some more skills, because when you start your own business, you have to be the head of product, design, HR, legal, compliance, finance. You have to do all those jobs. And at the very beginning, there's just two of you doing it, and you don't really know what you're doing, and you make mistakes. And I think, some of the first products that we got done in our factory were just the wrong size completely. And, we made mistakes on logistics that I wish I could have avoided had I had a bit more knowledge. So I guess I probably would have advised myself to try and reach out to people who know more rather than just trying to do it all on your own. But having said that, when you're working until midnight every night trying to get things done, you often don't have that luxury, and you learn by your mistakes. And we always had the mantra that it was okay to make a mistake as long as you didn't make it twice. And we've always lived by that, and that it's got us to our position now. There are a few other UK brands that we know that often we speak all the time, because if they've got issues with logistics that I've always said to them, if we've made the mistake, let me offload that knowledge so you guys don't. We're very much like that. You know, we try and be friends with everyone and competitors alike. It's nice, especially the ski community is very together anyway. So
for sure, yeah, I definitely appreciate that answer. It's something I hear often when I ask that. There's always something you say, like a kind of a big thing. You say, like, I wish I knew this just like a little bit more about this area, but also I would never take what I learned from all those mistakes back. Because you can also run into, if you did have a lot of experience, maybe in logistics or in retail or any of these things, like you could also go in thinking that you know and be wrong and still make the same mistakes. And the things that you learn from making those mistakes, to me, one of my favorite mantras, one of my managers told me at one of my first jobs was that going through mistakes gives you answers to future problems. It's one of like my favorite mantras I've ever heard. Because I mean, really, like after you make enough like mistakes on the front end of things, as you go through, you could really boil that down to, you know, the next time something happens, it's probably going to be at least in like a category of a mistake you made that like really affected you, but you still made through. So you can go at it with kind of the confidence of like, I've been through something like this already. Or maybe it's like, I went through this exact thing before, I know exactly how to handle it. I mean, I always love that mantra. Mistakes are answers to future problems. It was one of my favorite things that really, you know, kept me going over the years. And likewise with, you know, everything that you said, I think it's a great perspective for any, you know, young entrepreneurs or even maybe more seasoned entrepreneurs just getting maybe off into a new venture that they're not super familiar with, like you coming from banking, getting into, you know, retail and ski wear and e-commerce. So I definitely appreciate that. And
yeah, and I think that, you know, there's a lot of people that always say to me and my business partner, like, oh, you know, I wish I'd done that when I was younger. And anyone can do it. You just have the dedication to do it. When we incorporated the business in 2015, we booked a stand at the London Ski Show in October 2015, and that was our do or die. We basically had to come up with a brand, develop a product, and get it delivered before this show. Otherwise, we were going to sit there at the London Ski Show on a booth with no product. And that was our do or die. And we basically committed to meet every single Tuesday after work between 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. and often went way past 11 p.m. But that was our commitment. And we did it every single Tuesday without fail, because we knew that if we actually wanted to get this off the ground, no one was going to get it off the ground apart from us. We were the only ones that could do it. So, you know, it is difficult, it is tough, but it's good. You know, now my business trips when I was in banking used to be going to Singapore, which was great fun, but now I get to go skiing in Breckenridge and do trade shows in Salt Lake, and it's more to my passion. And I think I would just advise anyone to follow their passion, because if you're passionate about something, you'll work at it. And for me, it doesn't seem, obviously it is work, but it's my business, so it doesn't feel like work. So but that can come with its downsides, because you end up answering customer service emails at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night because you just think, why not, you know?
Right. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I just want to give you a quick opportunity as well. Just to shout out your socials. People listen to the pod. They love you. They want to follow the brand. They're excited for what's to come, the unannounced. Let people know how to keep in touch with you, how to keep in touch with the brand. The best place to find you guys.
Yeah, like that. Thank you very much. Yeah. So basically we're on Instagram, which is at OOSC_clothing, which is OOSC_clothing. And we're on all the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. You can contact me on LinkedIn if you ever want to contact me and chat. I'm always happy to talk and offload advice if I've got the time. So yeah, feel free to reach out and follow.
Awesome, man. Great. Well, Nick, I truly appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on, and wish you continued success and all the best.
Thanks very much, mate. Really appreciate it. Take care. I'll speak soon.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers, mate.